Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I think maybe we'll start now. We have quite a lot of people who joined. I'm really happy to see so many of you from across the Pacific who continue to join us in this webinar series. We'll be now having this from the beginning of March. Finished, I think, 10 or 11 sessions. I'm really happy to continue this series and also to note everyone's enthusiasm to join. I do invite you to also continue to write to us and let us know new topics and areas that you'd like us to do these short webinars on. And also continue to engage with us bilaterally on the topics of interest. If there's something that you'd like to discuss, very happy to do that. Also, just to let you know that all these sessions, if you missed any, they're all posted on our website, on the Facebook site as well. So the recording's all there and you can tap into it at any point. Okay, so thank you. Thanks again for joining the UNCTAD ASYCUDA Pacific webinar series. This time we have actually a very special guest, resource person, Mr. Arajab, who's the technical expert from the ASYCUDA Asia office team, and he's actually based in Timor-Leste and has been the instrumental person in building and developing the single window in Timor. So we're really happy to be able to cross-share across the regions, the expertise that ASYCUDA has, so that the Pacific, for us here in the Pacific, we are also learning and developing, and we are aware of the other achievements that are happening across the globe. So thank you very much. And I think without further ado, I'll just hand it over to Arajab, who will present the single window that's operational in Timor-Leste. Thank you. Arajab, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the introduction. Yes, I will share my screen. I will start with having a simple one-slide PowerPoint that will show the architecture of the system that we have here. But what you need to note, this will be showing exactly what is happening in the national single window in Timor-Leste. So I will be showing you live examples of what is happening in the national single window that we have here. So you let me know if you can see my screen. It's a PowerPoint.
Yes, can see it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, just for starters, the national single window started way back in 2020, and initially there were 8 other government agencies that were supposed to connect, but right now the number was increased, and now we have over 10 that are connected to the national single window. What I'm showing now is the architecture that we're using here. As you can see, there is what you call TILES, which is Timor-Leste Electronic Single Window. We have ASYCUDA World, which is the core custom system. Players are customs staff who you see that are connected to ASYCUDA World. We have other government agency staff who you see that are connected to the electronic single window that we will see shortly. Then the traders are connected to the electronic single window. The customs brokers are connected to ASYCUDA World, as you can see in the picture. Then we have also institutions that have their own systems, and these agencies, we do data exchange between the national single window and their systems. These are few though, so the majority of the institutions here are hosted on the national single window, like you will see in the live demo. So the national single window is a web-based application. And when you access it on the landing page, you have three options. One is sign in, the other one is user registration, and the other one is e-services. Sign in is when you have already a username and password, so you log into the system. User registration is when you are a first timer and you need to access the system. This one is available for staff of the trading companies, so they can obtain their username and password through self-registration. Then the other one is e-services. E-services is where we have things that don't need people to log in. Here we have two of them. One is the passenger declaration. So if someone is coming to Timor, he will access and he will provide information regarding his arrival in Timor-Leste. Then the other one is the under e-services is there is a border, a land border here. So vehicles that are crossing from or to Timor-Leste will have to declare their entries using that. So under e-services, we have two functionalities. One is passenger arrival, and the other one is what we call inbound, outbound vehicle registration. The system is a web-based and is what we call a responsive system that can be accessed on almost all the platforms. One, if you have a laptop, you can access it. If you have a desktop, you can access it. If you have a pad, you can access it. If you have a phone, you can access it. The reason as to why this is the ideal is because we wanted to target also the CEOs of these institutions who have a role to play in issuance of certain documents. So it is easier for them to access using the phones and provide any input that they need to do on a particular document. So with this, I will show the system and will explain in details how the system is working and how the two systems are interlinked with each other. So what you can see now is the landing page that shows the three things that I've been talking about. Quickly, when I go into this, I talked about travel declaration. I talked about what we call triptych, vehicle crossing the border. Professional is what we are not using now, but we are using these two. Traveler and vehicle crossing the border. Just a quick one on the traveler is just a travel card that someone needs to fill in and submit for prior information to customs and immigration. So this is being used by customs, immigration, and quarantine. And when you see the particulars that someone needs to fill, cover those three institutions: customs, quarantine, and immigration. So all those institutions get this information and do what they want to do. But today, the biggest topic will be on already registered users. So I'll log in as an administrator such that I can show all the functionalities and explain one by one. Okay. So this
Arjab,
is,
sorry, Arjab, if you don't mind, at some point, when you're referring to specific tabs and things like that, could you zoom in because we can't really read these
okay.
the smaller details very clearly. Ah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. So what you're seeing now is what we call a dashboard. This happens when someone has already logged into the system. And as you can see, there are quick statistics that someone can see on the system. There are different documents that have different statuses, and someone logged in can see how many documents he has at what particular status in the flow. So if it is a trader, he will be able to access only documents that relate to his company, agency, or other institution staff will see all statistics that are related to their institutions and their documents. So I will give some explanation of some documents that we are using here, and I will start with the vehicle import registration, which is ideally a function for 3 institutions, and I'll try to explain how the 3 institutions are working together on this particular document. So, like I said, I'm showing information on the live system, so I will just be showing and I will not do any input of the data. But where necessary, if there is any question, we can always look at it deeply and see. So, like you can see, these are documents that have been submitted for commercial vehicle import authorization. So there are quite a number of them. And I will just give an example of one document that completed the whole process, and we see how this got approved. So before, you're seeing orange color meant that someone had just submitted those documents, but this one is a green color and the status is approved. But what I'm so much interested in is the flow of this document, how it moved from wherever until the point it gets approved. So like you can see, the first action or the first operation that someone performed on this document was to submit. So when it got submitted, it was submitted by a trader. Then there is an institution called DNCE that validated. So a staff in that institution did validation. Then the chief in that institution did what you call the approval. Then there was a print that was done. Then another institution did what we call the confirmation. So DNTT does the confirmation of vehicle importation because they are responsible for registering these vehicles. Then DNCE is the under Minister of Commerce that does trade or foreign trade validation of any importation. So this particular document was submitted by the trader. It got 2 processes within DNCE, and it got the final process in DNTT. Now, when this document is approved, it will have to move to ASYCUDA for it to get utilized on the customs declaration. We'll get to that later on. But I will quickly show what someone goes through to submit a document for vehicle import. So they will click new, and this is a simple form that they will interact with. And here they will decide on what particular document that they are going to submit. For example, commercial vehicle is a document that is managed by Ministry of Commerce. Individual vehicle import permit is a document that is solely managed by customs. So when someone selects commercial vehicle, this document is configured that it's owned by or it's managed by Ministry of Commerce. So the flow is there and it will take that path. The information that is someone provides, of course, when you log in, your TIN will be there automatically. What you need to do is to provide the items that you're going to import. As you can see, there is a section for items and there's also a section for vehicle. So for items, what we did, we tried to simplify the particulars that someone needs to import. we categorized the vehicles into 4 digits HS code for simplicity, because these documents are submitted by people who don't have much knowledge about classification of a tariff. So what we do here, we simplify for them and tell them that you will be selecting where appropriately. For example, this 8702 is for public transport. So they know that if at all I'm going to import a vehicle for public transport, then I will see the name here and I will select that. So for private transport, so we did this to try and simplify for them. But when the time comes to put this on the customs declaration, the system will check, because on the customs declaration, they put the full HS code, which is 10 digits for Timor. So the system will compare the first 4 digits with what was provided on the permit, and it will allow or reject based on that. Then the other thing they provide is the country of origin, where this vehicle is coming from. Then they will provide a simple description of the vehicle, and they will provide the quantity. How many vehicles are these? It is quantity or weight, because this document can also be used for other things that are not motor vehicle. So we said quantity or weight. So whatever they provide here, if they select motor vehicle import, it means how many vehicles are they, or how many motorcycles are they. So after providing the number of items, for example, someone can provide that I'm importing 1 motorcycle and 2 vehicles, or 1 vehicle and 2 motorcycles. You will provide that information in items. Then down here, it will provide the particulars of the vehicles that is going to import. Things like the engine number, the chassis number, the year, the make, the model, the color, the fuel. Now, this information is also needed on the customs declaration, and later on, it is submitted or forwarded to the agency that is responsible for plate registration, and they use this information to do the vehicle registration when the vehicles arrives here. Then the other thing is the scanned documents. So these are documents that someone needs to upload to support the request that is submitting to government. For example, for this case, they're uploading the commercial invoice and the parking list. So they will upload those documents for them to be validated by the institution that is doing the verification and any other action thereafter. So back to our document, when I click on view, like you can see, these are 5 vehicles. He said 1 item, which is the HS code that is selected, and he provided the 5 vehicles here, okay, with the information. Then the other thing is the documents that is scanned and uploaded on the system are these ones that you can see down, okay. Then, because this permit is already utilized in ASYCUDA or customs, then we look at the write-off. So as you can see, this permit has been written off by customs declaration 8462, and we will see how it appears in ASYCUDA itself. So with this information, someone will know that this particular permit was submitted and now is currently written off, and this is the customs declaration that wrote off this particular customs declaration. And this is what I was talking about. This is a full HS code, but when someone was requesting for the permit, he put only the first 4 digits, as you can see. So when the system is validating this permit, it will check if the HS code someone is putting on the declaration, its first digits are 8703, then it will allow that person to continue. But if it puts 8704, the system will reject. Then the other thing on this customs declaration, it also checks the country of origin. So the country of origin in this case is Japan. So the country of origin that you put on the customs declaration will also be Japan. And the other thing is how many units that you specify on the customs declaration. So the total has to be 5. And this person has 5 items, and on each item, he put 1 vehicle. So what you can see, minus, 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 it means the permit is being written off, and at the end of the day, it will be 0. So that will be completely written off. So that is to do with the permit, and I've explained how it is submitted, how it goes through the various stages. Now I'm going to show how this permit, for example, was utilized in ASYCUDA. So this is the ASYCUDA that they are using here. And this is the document that came from the National Single Window into ASYCUDA. And these are the particulars of the vehicles. These are the documents that were scanned and put on the permit when it was being submitted. So from within ASYCUDA, someone can be able to view information of that permit and also look at the scanned documents that were submitted at the time of requesting the permit in the other ministry. So when the custom staff is validating this particular custom declaration, he has access to the commercial invoice, the parking list that was provided at the time of requesting this permit. So he can do some comparison that he needs to do. Now for the customs declaration, this is the customs declaration. And here is where they attach the permit that they are going to write off. So if someone attempts to register a declaration for motor vehicle, the system will automatically ask them to provide this information of the permit. And when he provides this information, the permit will be validated against the customs declaration. And the validation is on 3 or 4 fields. One, the TIN number, which is the company identifier. So this TIN number here that you see has to be the same on the permit. Then secondly is the country of origin. So here it is Japan, and on the permit is also Japan. Thirdly is the HS code. Here is 8703, blah, blah, blah. And on the permit, it's 8703. So if on the permit is 8704, then this declaration will not be allowed. Then the other is the how many vehicles are these. So this customs declaration has 5 items. Each item is representing 1 vehicle, and the permit has 5 items, each item representing 1 vehicle. So the system is matching those and providing necessary control. Then the other thing are these particular information of the HS code of the vehicle itself, like the chassis number, engine number, color, year, brand, model. These ones are coming from the permit, the other side. So someone doesn't need to provide them again here. What he just needs to do is to provide the permit that is referring to, and these particular details of the vehicle will be pulled from that permit and populated on the customs declaration. So with that, I've explained to you how the permit is submitted to one institution, gets validated by that institution, approved by that institution, then confirmed by the second institution. And when it is confirmed by the second institution, the information comes to ASYCUDA, which is the core customs system, for the customs broker to do the customs declaration. And when they do the customs declaration, ASYCUDA will ask them to provide the permit. So they will provide the permit, and the permit will be validated against the information someone has provided on the customs declaration. And while in ASYCUDA, the customs staff can also view information that was submitted on this permit and also look at the documents that were scanned and submitted at the time of permit request. So I will switch back to single window. So this is the single window. I've explained one of the permits that we're issuing here, and that is motor vehicle. But we also have other permits like the quarantine. Quarantine has a number of different permits that they are issuing. And as you can see, there is a lot of information that they are providing with this. Okay. Now, the document of quarantine is much more detailed compared to the document of motor vehicle. So with quarantine, there is a lot of information someone is providing at the time of the permit. And there are different types of permits that are submitted for quarantine. There are those for import and there are those for exports. So like you can see, if someone is asking for permit in quarantine, he will have to click on the quarantine icon and he will come and make a decision on what permit is requesting for. So quarantine covers a lot of products here, things to do with plant, things to do with aquatic, and things to do with animal. So someone will select a particular permit that is requesting for, and he will submit this information. But at the end of the day, this permit, when it is finally approved, it also goes to ASYCUDA. And when it goes to ASYCUDA, it doesn't go to ASYCUDA with all this information. It goes to ASYCUDA in the summarized form. Summarized form, we look at data fields that we need for writing off or controlling the customs declaration. For example, the importer, the HS code, the weight or quantity, and the country of origin. So for quarantine, they provide a lot of information, but when we are sending it to ASYCUDA, we summarize and send only information that would be needed for the customs declaration. So here I will show you. So like I explained, these documents have a lifetime and they pass through various stages for them to get approved. So like the same story, the trader submitted it, there was some change, it was verified, it was approved, they applied the conditions, it was issued, and they printed the certificate or the permit. Here they are printing because when you're going to import, you need to go with this permit and present it to the country of origin for them to know that the country where you're taking these goods, they are accepted to you to import. So for this, we also worked on the printout for their certificate or permit that has information that they need for them to import the necessary. So this is their permit. So like you can see, it's more detailed. It has a lot of information. It has the product itself. It has the person importing, the person exporting, and it has a set of conditions. So these conditions are generated from the system. And when they print out this, the director will need to sign this and gives it to the importer to go and present to the country of origin. So for quarantine, it's a lot more information compared to other permits, like for motor vehicle, like I've explained. But what I'm trying to say is that motor vehicle and quarantine, for example, all of them go to ASYCUDA because they need to be written off at the end of the day. Then the other quick thing that I will also talk about is what we call here the arrival notice. This arrival notice is for fuel that is coming through the vessels here. So this arrival notice is used by two institutions. There is one, the National Petroleum Authority, that issues what we call the transaction authorization. Now, when they issue the transaction authorization, because they have their own system, that transaction authorization will be sent to ASYCUDA from their system or the national single window. So the transaction authorization will come. I will show you. So it will come. What you are seeing here is something coming from the National Petroleum Authority system. What you see here is information coming from the system. And what happens when this information is sent, the trader will now do what we call a arrival notice. They specify or give information to customs regarding the vessel of fuel that will arrive. So this vessel of fuel that will arrive, customs at the end of the day will need to go and do what we call the dipping to find out what is the volume of the fuel at arrival. So when someone is providing this information, he will provide also the manifest, and the manifest has the volume. So when the vessel finally arrives, they will go and do the dipping to check how much fuel is there. And what we did here, we entered a formula based on American standard to automatically compute the volume basing on the density and the temperature of the fuel when they do the dipping. So the system automatically calculates the volume, and it will also show you the percentage difference between what was manifested and what was found actual. And they have some allowable difference in the percentage. If it is beyond this, they allow. If it's beyond this, they do not. So at the end of the day, the system will calculate how much fuel that someone needs to be taxed against. So when they finalize this, this document will also be summarized and sent to ASYCUDA with the quantity, the TIN of the importer, and the HS code. So like here you are seeing, we have HS code that is 8 digits. But the other side for motor vehicle, there are only 4. Here we have 8 digits. So this particular information will be sent to ASYCUDA, and there will be control against this permit versus the customs declaration. And the quantity is also very important because this quantity is what they use to charge the taxes here. Okay, so like also the trail is here. It was submitted by the trader. It got approved by customs staff. It got confirmed by customs staff, and they did the print here. Okay, so when they print, they provide to the importer how much have they obtained from the vessel for them to pay the taxes. Then we also have things like a certificate of origin. Here they export mainly coffee. So this is the document for coffee that traders request, and it gets approved by Ministry of Commerce, and someone will get this to accompany goods as they go to the destination. So like you can see, they are also attaching documents and submitting, and later on, they will have to print the certificate to accompany the goods. Now, this one is for coffee, and it is for International Coffee Organization. That is a standard printout that they print from the system, and they sign and stamp and give the exporter to accompany the goods as they move to the destination. So back to them. So the other thing that we're also working with is the Ministry of Health. Here they have 2 processes. One is medicine registration, and the other one is import authorization. So what they are doing here, importers are registering the medicines that they are going to be importing for 3 years. So these medicines are coded. So we code each medicine someone registers. Like for example, what you're seeing are the codes that we are providing to these medicines as people register them. So the commodity, we are looking at chapter 30. So here it's only 2 digits that we're looking at. But when someone is importing and providing the customs declaration, will specify a full HS code, then we'll check just the first 2 digits against the permit. So what happens with the medicine? The medicine gets registered for 3 years, and someone will be requesting for import authorization against those registered medicines. For example, this is a list of import authorization. So someone is requesting to import, and what you can see are the codes that were registered, and someone is going to import this medicine. And still, there are also documents that are scanned and uploaded for validation by Ministry of Health before they approve. For example, this is a document that was scanned and uploaded to the system and someone used the documents to also. So the same story, there is a trail, someone submitted, verified, approved, and there was the print of the authorization by the company. So here you can see the company submitted, the staff verified, the chief approved, and the company was able to print the authorization from their office. Okay, so that is to do with medicine. Now, the other thing is what we call joint inspection. And this one, because everything that I've been explaining now is to do with the permit and customs declaration. Now, this is joint inspection. This is happening when the goods are already here and the institutions need to go and do joint inspection with customs. So what happens is when a customs declaration is registered in ASYCUDA, for example, for motor vehicle, there are institutions that need to inspect and provide their inspection reports in the national single window. Now, these inspection reports have to be provided before the customs declaration gets assessed for someone to make the payment. Now, when the declaration is registered in ASYCUDA, immediately it will come to single window for these people to do the inspection. Now, the information that is sent for inspection is what you're seeing here. Now, there are quite a number of institutions that are using this, maybe 3 or 4 that are using this. I'll take an example of this. I'll take an example of this customs declaration. Like you can see, this particular customs declaration is targeted by 2 institutions. There is DNTT and DNCE. Now, every institution will have to work on their part. So they will have to work and provide input after their inspection. So when they provide this input, the information will then go back to ASYCUDA for the declaration to be able to be assessed and continue. So, for example, the information that they are looking out for are the particulars. So we summarize the customs declaration for these people. So we have the items and we also the vehicles. Because this is to do with vehicles, this information regarding the chassis number, engine number, make and model are very important for these particular people who are doing the inspection. So they will get this information and they will go and do inspection. Now, these institutions may also want to look at the customs declaration, to look at more details to do with customs declaration. And what they will have to do is to click on customs declaration. And here we give a summary of the customs declaration. So a summary of the customs declaration, like we have the items, how many items on this customs declaration? There are quite a number of them. What are the containers that are being used for this customs declaration? What are the documents that were uploaded on the customs declaration by the customs broker? So this particular agency, when they are providing their input or they are providing their inspection report, they can also verify the documents that were uploaded in the customs declaration through the national single window. So the national single window is able to read the information of the customs declaration from ASYCUDA and be able to present it to these people to look at. And they can also download the documents, for example, these documents, and look at them. They can download the commercial invoice and packing list and look at them for them to do a comprehensive judgment that they may want to do. So here, the customs declaration is quite big, but we created a summary of what they would need to see. Okay, so things like some information of the importer, the declarant, taxes this person has paid, what are the particulars of the items, what are the containers, what are the documents, and what are the vehicles. So in this case, there is only one vehicle that this person needs to inspect. Okay. So we also have another institution that is also doing this. When the customs declaration is registered in ASYCUDA, ASYCUDA will send the information to the National Single Window, and these institutions need to act on that for the customs declaration to continue. Now, we have the National Petroleum Authority that are not logging into the National Single Window. They have their own system. So their own system is the one that is sending these inspection results back to the National Single Window. They ideally giving a go-ahead. We are okay, comfortable with this person importing this fuel into the country. So what happens? ASYCUDA created the document in the National Single Window. It got modified, so it means that at some point there was a modification that happened on the customs declaration. For example, maybe it was routed to green, but it couldn't be assessed for payment because this National Petroleum Authority had not yet finished their part. So when there was a route to green, ASYCUDA notified the single window that that happened, and what you are seeing as direct clear is a clearance from the National Petroleum Authority. And the user here is their system. The user here is ASYCUDA. The user here is their system that is sending this clearance. Okay. Okay. So like these ones that don't have their own system, the clearance is happening like this. ASYCUDA is creating the document. There is a staff who is doing conform, and there is a staff, the same staff is doing clearance. So this is an institution that doesn't have their own system, and they are using the National Single Window to do their clearance. So if you don't have your own system as an institution, a username and password, you will need to connect to the National Single Window and do what you are supposed to do. If you have your own system, then there is data exchange. So you do whatever you're doing in your own system, then this information will come back to the National Single Window that will again channel it back to ASYCUDA. You remember the architecture design that I showed you? There are institutions with their own system. We have the National Single Window and we have ASYCUDA. So the entry point to customs and the exit point to other systems is the National Single Window. So the National Single Window is a hub of data exchange between ASYCUDA and those other systems. So that is to do with joint inspection. We call it joint inspection because institutions and other institutions and customs will work together when they are inspecting the goods, such that the goods are not opened for different institutions at different times. So when they finish their inspection, they will come and provide the reports in the National Single Window. And after that, customs will be able to assess the customs declaration for them to do the payment and proceed. So we also have other things that are related only to Timor-Leste, like vehicle inbound, outbound. So these are vehicles crossing the border. So they also go through this National Single Window. And for vehicles from Timor going to other countries, to one country here, the system is interlinked or integrated with the vehicle registration system to do validations. For example, if someone is putting the plate number, the National Single Window will validate that plate number with the vehicle registration system for details to match. Now, information that is going to us from single window to ASYCUDA, this is what you use to track it. So here you can see we have a lot of information from single window to ASYCUDA. So we have, for example, petroleum transaction authorization. This is a permit that is coming from the National Petroleum Authority system to single window and single window will work on it and summarize it for ASYCUDA for it to be attached on the customs declaration. Then the other thing is vehicle inspection document. So this is what I've been explaining now, that the inspection is triggered after customs declaration is done. When the customs declaration is done, the information will come to the national single window for this institution to provide or to do their inspection and provide the report in the national single window. And when they have finished, because this is a national single window, and this information needs to go back to customs, which is ASYCUDA as the core system, it comes in the integration hub for it to be integrated into ASYCUDA for the process to continue. Now, this is the quarantine and biosecurity unit import permit for animal product. So this is also a permit that will come and go to ASYCUDA. Remember, I showed you a document for quarantine. So that whole document is summarized into something that needs to be sent to ASYCUDA for clearance of goods. And that clearance of goods is a control between the permit and the customs declaration. For example, if Arajab is the one who is the importer on the permit, it should be Arajab on the customs declaration. If I requested to import fish, it should be fish, as in the HS code that someone uses on the customs declaration should be for fish. If I requested to import 100 kilograms of fish, it should be 100 kilograms of fish. If I requested to import from Indonesia and I put that on the permit, it should be the same Indonesia as the country of origin on the customs declaration. So the system is checking on those parameters to ensure that information is clear. And with this, when we are doing some study like time clearance, they were always asking us what time it takes from the permit to customs declaration, etc. So there is a trail. We trail from when someone requested for the permit, when it was approved, and when the customs declaration was registered, when it was paid, all the way until the goods get out of the port. So this is the hub. Whatever is going from national single window to ASYCUDA will be in this integration hub, and it will go. Then the other thing to also just show you is, yes, we talked about systems. We are also integration. There's some integration with the web bridge here. They have a web bridge for the land border that they integrate, and information comes in national single window that is later relayed to ASYCUDA for the customs people to check on the weights that someone declared on the customs declaration versus the weights that were weighed on the web bridge. The other thing that here we do is the National Ozone Unit, the one that is responsible for the importation or controlling the importation of R22, the gas for the AC, because there is a regulation that you need to import a given quantity as a country. So this particular quantity is subdivided into the traders. So here, what happens with this National Ozone Unit, they have a national quota where they say that this year, how much gas are we going to import into the country? So they will come up with the national quota, and this national quota is distributed amongst the traders that are going to import. And these traders are issued what we call the import license for that particular year. So the first step that they do is to put in the system the national quota, and when they put the national quota, they will go ahead and distribute this national quota among the traders that they have. Normally, they have 5 or less traders that they distribute this to. So like you can see here, there is item, and this is the total quantity of this gas that they need to import into the country. And that gas is now distributed among 3 companies. So here you can see the weight was that, and they distributed all, and the balance is now 0. So these companies, when they're importing, every time they import, they will have to specify this license on the customs declaration, and the system will go on reducting their weight until it is 0 or it stays. And what is so important in the national single window here is we have movement. So we have permits that are for import, and we have permits that are for exports. So if someone requests for a permit for import, the customs declaration has to be import. If someone is requested for a permit for export, the export declaration has to be the one. Then what we call the usage. There are permits that are single use. So there are permits that are single use and permits that are multiple. So here, this permit is multiple. So someone will get a trade license or import license for 1 year, and will have to import portions throughout the year. But when we go to, for example, the motor vehicle, it is single, okay? So it means that someone who is utilizing this will have to utilize it on one customs declaration or one consignment. So that behavior is also there, such that when it goes to ASYCUDA, ASYCUDA will control. If someone is, say, for example, requested for 5 quantity and is putting 4, the system will force him to clear out everything. So if he has brought less, he will have to go back to the institution that approved this permit for it to be modified. Yes, I think I've spoken a lot. Yes, there are also documents that are paid for. So the payments are also processed through the national single window. Some institutions are paying, like the web bridge, someone is paying for it. Vehicles going outside of Timor, they are also paying. Medicine registration, they are also paying. So people are processing the payments, and these documents are getting paid as in the process. So they have to be paid for them to be approved. Then the other thing that I need to talk about is the single window here. There are things that I may not show you, but here we are doing also electronic payments with the ATM machines. And we recently also rolled out to payments with the internet banking and the mobile banking. So these are things that I may not show you, but it is also happening in the background. So payments are also being processed, and these payments come through data exchange with the banking systems. For example, the ATM machines are processed with the central bank. So the central bank is the one that we worked with to work on this payment with ATM machines integration. So in our project, the central bank is one of the institutions that we are also supposed to work with, and we worked with. Then the other thing that is also happening is information to the port for release of goods and inspection of goods, okay? Say, for example, there are certain goods that need to be inspected. The design of the port here is that if you need to inspect some goods, you need to put a customs declaration. ASYCUDA needs to send a message to the port system to bring those containers for you to inspect. So there is that data exchange with the port system, whereby information is sent to the port. They bring the containers in the inspection area for them to be inspected. And when the payment is done, we also send them a release message for the containers to be released. So the port is not releasing any container before they get a message from customs, which is ASYCUDA, to release these containers. Then the other thing is that when the containers are finally released or get out of the gate, the system sends information to ASYCUDA that this particular container has left the port. So in nutshell, there are two aspects of implementations here. There are those that we host on the national single window, and there are those where we just do data exchange with them. And like I explained before, this data exchange between ASYCUDA and these institutions is happening through the national single window. And these are two different systems that just have to talk to each other because the servers are completely different. So they send information between one another, communicating what needs to be done. And our architecture was that the national single window should be something for the traders. That's why we tried to summarize it. That's why we even made it possible for it to be accessible on the phone. For the ASYCUDA is the core customs system. So it's left for the customs staff, customs broker to do whatever they want to do. Now, with a very long presentation, I think it's time for me to end and give the floor to you people for any question or clarifications that you have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Arajab. That was a very, very informative presentation, and it's good to note the various mixed modalities between the agencies that are using the single window system for all their processes, as well as in the some agencies that have their own backend to which you're connecting, including ASYCUDA. Also, the mixed modality on the printing of the permits as well. So that's really good. We have a question in the chat box, but anyone else has any questions, please raise your hand. We can quickly take some questions before we wrap up. I know it's it's in lunchtime. But there's a question in the chat box. Thank you for this. I think he's saying, however, I believe that single windows should be fully connected to the logistics provider, ports authority, importers by providing real-time information to the applicant. Can you comment on this, Arjab?
Okay. Yes, thank you so much for the question. The only thing that I need to say is that the design of single window, I always advise it to be phased, and I look at it as two categories. There is business to government, so whereby business people are requesting documents to government, like I've explained. But there is also another one of business to business. So for example, I need to import, but I will need logistics. So it's not government that is providing the logistics, maybe transport. So the government, me as a business, I can use the national single window to request for a transport. So business to business. So this is something that Timor-Leste has not looked at, business to business, but maybe in the future they will have to look at that. Then the other thing that I can also talk about is information. When a permit is submitted, information is sent to the institution that it's submitted to. Here we're using email addresses. So at least we notify you that there is a permit that has been submitted. And when that permit is queried, maybe someone needs you to provide more information, we also notify you on email, because we don't think that all the time you're using the system. So we send you an email to let you know that this particular permit has been queried. Or if a permit is approved, we also notify you that this permit has been approved, for you to know if you need to go to the system, then you go there. And sometimes we send the email with the PDF attached. So if there is a permit that needs to be attached, we send the PDF attached. And we have a few institutions here that are also using e-signature. So they don't need to print and sign. So some are using e-signature. So when the PDF comes out, it's already embedded with the signature for you to proceed. So this information, because the objective of the National Single Window is to be transparent. So these notifications cut across, even customs declaration, when they get paid, when you have assessed, it is assessed how much to pay, we will communicate to the trader. Yes, so I think that is
Thanks, Arjab. Yeah, no, I think maybe just to also add on, if we had more time, we could have run you through the front end. I think today we just showed you like how government authorities would work behind the scenes, right? From the administrator's perspective, but we didn't run you through the front end. If you were a trader, and then if you log in, this is how the system will work from your perspective when you have to submit all your documents. And just on the trade information, normally trade information is run on a separate portal by Ministry of Trade, and then we can link it on this landing page to the single window. And that might be the best way forward. And I know in the Pacific, most of our countries have the information portals already running. I think there's another question. How long does it take you to implement the two modules for passenger arrival, departure, and vehicles crossing borders? What is the key for successful implementation of a single window for your administration? Because you make it look simple. uh, Arjun, over to you.
The only thing I can say, implementations can vary. For example, here in Timor-Leste, for passenger, we had to look at different institutions, and these different institutions had different components of data. So I may not tell you how much time it may take for us to do a passenger declaration, but it varies, because here we looked at 3 institutions, so we had to factor in information that is required by 3 institutions. Then for vehicle, still the same thing, because here they have a vehicle registration system that is managed by an institution for land transport. So what happened in this case, we did data exchange. We integrated this system, the National Single Window, with the vehicle registration system. Because for you to request to go or drive your car to another country, your car needs to be fully registered without any offense. So for your request to be approved, we need to check that this particular vehicle that you provided, 1, it's there on the register. 2, it has no any issue that you need to do. So that request now goes through. When it goes through, there's some payment that you need to make. So you make the payment. Now, when you make the payment, you need to come back and the payment is fed in the system. Then you get the pass out. Now, for vehicles coming to the country, here there are actually 3 institutions that are working on that. 1, customs, because customs needs to know if at all you're bringing in some goods or not. Then there is the police that needs to monitor the vehicles as they come until they leave. Then there is land transport for the case of the roads. So those are 3 institutions that are working on that particular document. So all of them are factored in the process. So I may not say it will take this time, because Timor was a little bit different. Yeah, I hope I answered.
Yeah, no, thanks. But also, I think the last point on key for successful implementation of the single window, based on your experience.
First of all, implementation of single window, the first thing, there must be government or political will. Because when we started here, we had 8 institutions. So we got one institution that we started with called the Trade Invest. Now, this was responsible for, or it provides exemptions for investors as they import in goods. So they were very positive and they worked with us. So we had that one institution for maybe over 6 months, trying to convince other institutions also get on board. But because there were benefits, this institution started now becoming the selling point or convincing points to other institutions. So the benefits were way, way more, because before the national single window implementation, someone was writing a letter to this institution writes a letter to customs. So it was taking so long for someone to get the approvals done. But when the system was implemented, it was very short. So the institution and the traders themselves, we are talking about the benefits of this. And we successfully had the other institution come on board so fast. In 4 years, like I said, we have over 10 institutions, maybe 12 of them are already using the system. Then government or political will. Now, the design that we have here is custom-centered. So, because customs is the implementing agency here, it had to put in some conditions that for us to clear goods, say, for example, for medicine, we need to work with electronic documents. So, you have to comply and you have to be on the system. We don't want to have a lot of manual documents. So, they allowed to work with us. Then the other thing, for the goods to leave the port, the only institution that instructs the port to let the goods go is customs. And this one is automated because a declaration must be released in customs for the container to leave the port. Now, any institution that needs to control any goods has to rally behind customs. So what we did was to make sure that this release is automated after customs has cleared the goods. So any permit that you want to control, it has to happen on the customs declaration. And because the port is automated, we had no option but we had to follow. And we managed to quickly implement whatever we have. And the other thing is, yes, we have had a very hardworking small team here that works so hard to have things done. And the most important thing is that we show results. The traders themselves, a trader was taking 2 weeks to get a permit for a motor vehicle, but now it is in 1 day or less. So they are the ones who went on talking to government and institutions that were a bit reluctant, had also to come on board. We had a lot of problems with quarantine, but eventually, because of this pressure, they had also to adjust. Then the other thing, most of the time people think that when you bring a system, you will take away their jobs. No, we try to convince them that it's not taking away the jobs, but it's to improve how you're working. And the other thing is the international requirements, like the WTO requirements, the Asian requirements here force this institution to also get on board. Because, for example, Timor is almost becoming a member of Asia, so this is one of the requirements that they need to have electronic documents. I think that is it. I don't know whether that answers your question. Yes.
No, it does. Thank you very much. I think we're well over time, but if anyone has any burning questions or like to raise your hand, please feel free to jump in. Oh, PNG National Trade Office, please. We're very happy to hear from you.
Sorry, let me try to also check.
Yeah, the PNG National Trade Office. Please go ahead. I think you're muted. if you unmute
Please
and
unmute. I think
we can
you've
hear
raised the
you.
hand, but you're still muted.
You can hear us now?
Yes, yes. Please go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead. Thank you, Danushki, for facilitating this, and thank you, John, for that very informative presentation. I just have one query. We have these ongoing discussions in PNG, so I am curious to know, when you were building your single window system, did you purchase a system or applications off the shelf from another country that is already that has a single window that's up and running, or did you have to build a system, get UNTAD to come in and build a system um, kind of a homegrown system? Was it built, or did you purchase a system that's already up and running from another country that's already has a single window?
Okay. Okay, I can answer that straight away.
I can answer that straight away.
First of all, I don't know whether maybe someone can. There's echo. Maybe someone can.
Maybe someone can
mute. Okay, thank you. So what I need to say about this is, I don't think there's a country that can buy a single window from somewhere and implement it in their country as it is. It's really impossible, because countries have different dynamics. Okay. For example, the single window that we have here may not come and suit and work exactly the way it is. But the only thing that maybe can come is the experience that someone has from different countries to share the ideas. But getting a single window from elsewhere to bring it in this country, I don't really think it's not possible, because we have different institutions, we have different laws, we have different flows. And what happened here was, we had to go through a series of activities. One was, we did an inception activity where we discussed with all institutions to try and understand how their processes are. Then we went to another phase of re-engineering the processes, because single window has objectives to reduce time, to reduce costs. So we had to re-engineer the processes, remove some components that were a bit redundant. So going through all that, then we came up with a design of each and every institution on what needs to be done for each and every functionality. So for example, quarantine, what they need to go through for them to approve a given permit. So you find that this institution has 2 levels of people to approve. So you look at that and see, can I eliminate this level? Then there are also some documents that share different institutions. So we looked at that and we also implemented something that can work on different institutions. So in small terms, I really don't think there is anywhere someone can sell you a single window to come and use it in your country, unless you're also going to change your laws to fit the other country, which is really impossible. So a complete study is always done on what is on ground, and a single window is built, tailored to whatever is on the ground. Yeah.
Thanks, Arajab, and thanks, Bridget. Good to hear from you. But just also to add on to what Arajab said, uh, the version that he showed you for Timor-Leste is based on UNCTAD, ASYCUDA, and UNCTAD's new technology. So we have not purchased the technology from anyone else. We have developed UNCTAD has developed this technology to be able to share it with countries at a cost recovery model. So because with private sector companies, what happens is obviously, it's a private company. You have to pay for these for this technology and any subsequent support as well. So as the UN, it is our mandate to support developing countries, and hence we also try to develop this kind of cost-effective solutions for our members. So ours is as similar to ASYCUDA, it's our own technology, and when we implement, we hand over everything also to the countries. Thank you. I think there's some more questions.
Can I just?
Yeah, please
There is
go
a list
ahead.
of these questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who owns and governs the national single window? Of course, I'll speak for Timor-Leste here. It's owned by government, of course, implemented by customs. So here, government has an agreement with UNCTAD to implement this, and it is fully funded by government. But in some cases, donors are the ones that fund. But here, the fundings come from government, subscription fees, institutions that charge fees for particular permits, they do charge. But for someone to use single window, there's no charge. It's free. It's paid by government. But there are institutions that charge fees for particular permits, those charge, right? Then cost and integration, who bears the cost of integration? No, this was paid by government to work on the national single window, paid UNCTAD to work on it. The only thing that can be thought about here is, say, if there is an institution that has their own system and you need to integrate with that system. So the side of single window, the work on the single window is already covered by government, but you may need to have a budget for the other institution to adjust their system to be able to talk with the national single window. Who maintains the system? There is a national project team here, but at the end of the day, this will be handed over to government and customs in particular to continue supporting. And like he said, everything is handed over, and there is some capacity building that happens in the project to try and transfer the knowledge to the team to be able to sustain the system after that. Yeah.
Thanks, Arajab. Yeah, so that is the Timor-Leste model. But obviously, as he mentioned earlier, the model needs to be tailor-made to your own countries based on your own legislature and procedures, regulations, etc. So based on that, you can modify and adopt different strategies, different fee structures, funding mechanisms. The funding, the cost recovery can be built into your system. So it really is dependent very much on your initial planning, design, and political will. Thank you. Okay, colleagues, it's well into our lunch hour, so we've kept you over now for more than half an hour extra. But thank you very much. I appreciate all the comments and the interaction. Thank you for joining us today. We will post this on our Facebook page, and that you can always download it and watch it or share it amongst your colleagues. Thank you so much, Arajab. We appreciate your support for the Pacific. Thank you. Have a good day,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye-bye.